Hello everybody and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast. This is podcast number 32 of 2019. That is number 22 for those of you who don't speak Welsh. My name is Gareth Evans. This is Mr. Henry. I've actually brought my charger in today, Cooper.
I know, it's hard to believe. It's not my fault that the charger that was here stopped working. So now I've got to use my one.
There was one show where you used the Windows Surface Pro, and everyone was like, someone asked, is it Metal Shark?
Yeah, I think Shark. Oh, what's it like using that for productivity? And now you know it was just for one episode because my computer died.
Charger.
It was on like 3% when I opened it.
It was out of necessity rather than
choice.
Have we got a bumper-filled, jam-packed, juicy, loot-boxy, Kinder Surprisey podcast for you today. We've got some news out of the UK Digital Culture, Media and Sports Select Committee, which sounds as awesome. It is as awesome as it sounds. We're going to talk a little bit about Phil Spencer and his strategy for the Xbox and going into the future. Also, we're going to take some Discord questions from the patron members. We are going to read out some YouTube comments from the toxic community that we have around us here at YouTube, which will be fun as usual. We'll be calling. I've got one. I've got a toxic comment of the week. No. What did I call it?
Toxic comment of the week. That'd be a good little segment.
Yeah, I've got the name of it. It is. Idiot comment there. It's so good, I've forgotten the name of it, but we've got an awesome comment of the week for the most ridiculous comment. It's something. I'll figure it out. It's on my phone. I'll get it later. Anyway,
we need a nice jingle to go along with whatever the name is.
Yeah. The shittiest comment of the week essentially is what it is, what it boils down to. But I've got a specific name for it, and yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not building it up as excitedly as it should be, but let's just kick things off with the FIFA loot box things, like kind of surprises things. So what do we have, Henry?
So the Digital Culture, Media and Sport Committee, that was a meeting held
in the UK.
Yeah, in the UK with the UK government officials trying to figure out whether or not loot boxes are bad for the children, need to protect the children.
Well, the official title of the meeting was An Inquiry into Addictive and Immersive Technologies.
We're a bunch of old men who don't understand things and we're going to try and figure it out.
Yeah.
So that happened yesterday on Wednesday the 19th of 2019. Apparently it started at 2:29 and ended at 5:10, so it went on for a long time. Like 2.5 hours?
That's it.
And one person who was there said some rather controversial things, which I'm predicting is going to be the next big meme of the week, because memes die very quickly.
Sure.
Mrs. Kerry Hopkins. Now, she is EA's VP of Legal and Government Affairs. So she works for EA. You know, everyone hates EA, so you already know what she's going to say.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be stupid.
Bullshit. Just to set this up properly, like there's a committee of MPs or their consultants or whatever in a kind of U shape, and then there's 4 people, like 2 from EA, 2 from Epic, like right in front of them. They're like in front of a firing squad, or in front of a jury or something, aren't they?
Yeah.
And all these like difficult questions are being asked towards them, and they're answering so awkwardly, and they're
jittery. They're not quite comfortable.
Not making great eye contact, it's a sight to behold. If you ever wanted to see EA execs and Epic Game execs squirming in their seats as they're answering, then that 2-3 hours worth of it might be worth watching 20 minutes. I say, because it's quite fun to watch, because they do ask some very pointed questions and they do follow them up, and they don't let them off the hook whatsoever. It's so funny,
because these people who they are interrogating, they're not gamers, they're just legal reps for these companies. They're not developers or even publishers. They're just legal people who work in the games industry.
Yeah, they're paid to say the right things, essentially. They're the PR people, jumped up PR people, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So this Kerry Hopkins, when asked about loot boxes in EA games, so games like FIFA, games like Madden, or like Battlefront, whatever, the broader EA company, she immediately says, well, we don't call them loot boxes. So that's just like, well, actually, we don't believe that's what they're called. We call them surprise mechanics. Okay. Surprise mechanics. I mean, it's not strictly wrong, but it's still a loot box.
Surprise!
Surprise!
Your house has been burgled. Surprise!
Exactly. So long as you say surprise, it's all okay.
We've just smacked your spouse in the face.
Surprise! Oh, you've got me again. What a rascal.
That's so enjoyable.
And she goes on, this is something people enjoy. They enjoy surprises. I mean, if I'll come home and there's a surprise party with a banner and it's, happy birthday, yeah, that's a nice surprise. But, I don't know, flushing the toilet and all of the mess overflowing coming out, that's a horrible surprise.
Then again, winning the lottery is a surprise and it's enjoyable, but it's still gambling.
Still gambling. I mean... So then she goes on, it's something that's been part of toys for years, whether it's Kinder Eggs or Hatchimals or LOL Surprise. So
all of those things my kids have and have bought with their own money and I've bought for them and they enjoy. And none of them are anything like loot boxes in video games.
It's just not the same. Right?
I endorse these things because they're fun for kids. They're not gambling.
So there's lots to unpack here. So for starters, considering a game as a toy is a very naive sentiment. I mean, it's something that is enjoyed by a lot of children. A lot of games are aimed at children, as we all know. But calling it's not a toy, because movies are enjoyed by children and are consumed by children. But are they toys? Yes, a game is something you play. Yeah. But it's not really the same.
Yeah, it's an attempt to undermine the critique of what loot boxes are and how harmful they can be by equating them to a child toy, to something that we accept to have with our kids. It's the same type of thing as like collectible card games. Like it's like playing a game of cards because they look like cards, so we're going to turn all our loot boxes into cards because they're like cards. Like when you were a kid, you bought trading cards. And
that's a fairer approximation than calling it a toy.
That's the reason they make them like cards. Because they get away with it. Yeah. If they were like literally like LOL loot boxes, or like Kinder Surprise loot boxes, where the chocolate explodes onto your screen, and then you get a little toy to make on the inside, they'd be looking to get away with it like that as well, probably.
And the thing is, Kinder Eggs, because I've got no experience with Hatchimals or LOL Surprises. I don't quite know what they are. But Kinder Eggs, it's a little chocolate egg, and then there's a little capsule, and in the capsule is a toy that'll like move a bit, or it'll be like a car, and it drives and gets stickers.
You've got to assemble it, so it's fun. You've got instructions and everything.
Half of them you don't anymore because it's like a choking hazard. So they come like as one unit. You maybe clip two bits together. It's crap. Anyway, you pay what? 60p for a Kinder Egg, something like that, 70p. Maximum,
not in today's economy.
Yeah, true. Maximum a pound. Let's say a pound, and it's still very offensive that that's the case. But you pay £1 and you get the chocolate egg and the toy inside. It's not like you pay £1 for the chocolate egg and then have to pay another 50p to get the toy inside. The surprise is you pay for the whole thing and you get the surprise as well. If they thought this was the same thing, you'd pay for FIFA and then you get a bunch of random cards in the same price. But it's not the same thing.
It's not. Okay. It's not the same thing. It's just an attempt. It's like she's trying to pull the wool over their eyes of these people. She's trying to characterize loot boxes and these gambling mechanics, which is what they are. They are gambling mechanics, whether or not they're technically gambling by anybody's law, anybody's definition. Belgium and the Dutch authorities seem to think so, and everyone else is kind of not sure yet. Whether they are or not, they're still gambling mechanics, and they're nothing like toys. And this is her attempt to try and pull the wool over and characterize them in this way so that they seem more palatable and they seem like they're more acceptable for the general public. It's bullshit is what it is. It's PR. It's a spin.
Yeah. And then the committee member poses the question of whether or not these are ethical, regardless of whether she calls them loot boxes or whatever. Do you think they are ethical in the way you've put them together? We do think that the way we've implemented these mechanics, and FIFA of course is our big one, FIFA Ultimate Team and our packs, is quite ethical and quite fun. enjoyable to people. So people enjoy that we're mugging them off and manipulating them into buying things.
I mean, whether it's enjoyable or not is beside the point, right? Gambling's enjoyable, and that's the point. Like, that's why it's so addictive, because it's enjoyable. Like, that is no defense at all. These things are enjoyable. People enjoy them. People enjoy, like, you know, performing GBH on people.
Some people do, yeah.
People enjoy doing all sorts of nasty shit. It doesn't mean we should be exploring it just because they enjoy it. Like, I mean, what type of fucked up rationale is that? It's not right. And
then she kind of tries to use the rulings of other countries to back her, because for the most part, a lot of countries are undecided, and she's kind of spun that to say that they have said it's absolutely not gambling. So we agree with the UK Gambling Commission, the Australian Gambling Commission, and many other gambling commissions that they aren't gambling, and we also disagree that there's evidence that shows it leads to gambling. Even though the nuance of the UK and Australia and all these other nations' decisions is that the definition is what is in question. By their definition, loot boxes and whatnot aren't gambling, but the definition needs to be updated. I'd argue that's the popular argument.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what they're saying, is that by our definition, the laws that we have, what these loot boxes are, don't fall into what our definition is, which is true. So it doesn't mean, though, that that they aren't gambling, right? It doesn't mean the commission. What she says here is other gambling commissions that they aren't gambling. Maybe they are gambling, but they don't fit into the definition. Yeah. She's kind of putting words in their mouths here, and trying to get the UK Gambling Commission, Australian Gambling Commission, and many other gambling commissions to back her up on her ridiculous assumption. But I mean, whether it's legally gambling or not, it's mimicking gambling mechanics.
And saying we also disagree that there's evidence that shows it leads to gambling. I mean, there is evidence, and you can disagree with it, but they've been not as many as they should have been, granted, but there are scientific, like, empirical studies about it that have said it's gambling like or leads to gambling. I mean, we won't know for sure until loot boxes has been around for a long enough time to, like, do a longitudinal study over time. But the research around at the moment does say, for the most part, that it's gonna be gambling, and the same things happening in your brain happen when you're in a slot machine.
Yeah, tell that to the person who spends thousands of pounds a month on loot boxes and shit. I mean, you've seen the articles. You've seen people who've come out and said, "I'm a whale. I spent this much money trying to get this one character or this one skin or this one thing." Like, tell them it's not gambling, because it pretty much feels like, looks like, and mimics gambling in every other way other than they haven't put the label on it that it's gambling.
And then she carries on. Instead, we think it's like many other products that people enjoy in a very healthy way and like the element of surprise. So she's trying to bring it back down to, like, but people are having fun, so it's fine, and they like the surprise. But
we've already established that fun is no way to justify whether it's good or not.
Like, lots of things are fun, but because they are dangerous, they are regulated. Like drinking. People really like drinking alcohol, but it's not very good for you, so there are regulations on it, so that people under 18 in the UK or under 21 or whatever other ages in other countries not allowed to do it because it's going to mess you up.
That's it.
I think the way we've implemented our FIFA Ultimate Team packs is ethical. I mean,
well, what this illustrates is that she's just a puppet, right? She's up there, and she's not objective in the slightest, and she's up there to represent the interests of the company who she works for and who pays her bills. That's what she's doing here. Of course she's going to say she thinks it's ethical, because
it's
the people
her job
who pay her, exactly, she's paid to say that. So if someone as biased as she is saying that something's ethical is completely groundless, in my opinion. Ask a third party, someone who's objective, and some sort of mediator who hasn't any affiliation with any company and any making. This is what these gambling commissions are supposedly. You know, people are expecting these gambling commissions to make the decision, but they're only interpreting a law. Like they can only say whether it's gambling or not. What they need is a proper investigation from somebody who's not affiliated affiliated with EA or a gambling commission or anybody else to, they need to pay someone to do that and decide themselves on behalf of the British government and this committee whether it's ethical or not. It's not up to her to decide that, because like I said, we've already established that's what she's going to fucking say, otherwise she gets the sack. Yeah,
you need your own private ethics, no, maybe not private, but separate ethics committee, a whole team of people who are trained to look at this sort of thing and figure it out. Because, as we said, she's just doing what she's been told to do. Then she carries on again. For all the games we have on the market that have a randomized content mechanic, a surprise mechanic, a loot box, I have no qualms that they're implemented in an ethical way.
Of course you don't.
I mean, like, it's just I just can't. Like, everything she says, it's so, like, manufactured, and she's saying what she's supposed to. And in the video, she's been put on the spot, so it's probably quite a stressful situation anyway. It doesn't, like, whatever she was saying, but she looks visibly, like, uncomfortable.
She's very uncomfortable. She answers and she's looking really nervously. And the problem with this scenario is, yes, the guys they're doing a decent job of asking the right questions and following it up if they don't get an answer that they like, or just misses the point, or they've waffled around the answer and not answered it properly. They do a good job of asking those questions, but they don't ask the more relevant questions, like someone who is more informed about the issues that these gambling panics can cause. They could be asking questions like, what about this person? What about this person here in the paper who's said that he's lost his livelihood? He's been gambling since he was 14. He's spent 50,000, 60,000. We've covered it on the channel. People spending thousands and thousands of pounds. All the same problems that gambling causes. You might lose your job, you might lose your wife, you might lose your home or something like that because of spending so much money on these shit. It's happened to people, mark my words. But those types of cases have not been put to these puppets who seem to think that it's all ethical so long as they're making their buck.
Yeah, exactly. And I did have a really good point there, but it's just completely zipped its way out of my head. Hopefully it'll come back.
In a whirlwind of Gar's rant.
Well, we'll carry on anyway. It might come back to me. Then one of the other. Oh no, it's come back. Gotcha.
Good.
Back on. Sorry. My biggest critique of this whole meeting with the committee and stuff is that the committee members, the people asking the questions, aren't informed enough about the games industry itself, because it's a broad thing, right? It's not just about loot boxes and gaming. It's about, like, media and culture and that digital stuff,
immersive technologies,
and all that. And unfortunately, they're not as informed as I would like them to be, and perhaps they should be, to be able to ask the right questions worded in the right way and stuff. But it's sure as hell as a start, that's for sure.
It's nice to see them squirming.
Yeah,
it's
it really
so good
is.
to see them squirming.
And then one of my favourite guy in the meeting, the committee guy, he asks this question to the Epic guys, and it hits their nail so hard on the head for the difference. Well, conflating that real world gambling and casinos and stuff like that are the same. So people, like game publishers with gambling-like mechanics, need to be abiding by the same restrictions as real-world gambling. So he says, so if a 15-year-old boy turns up or a 15-year-old girl for that matter, blah, blah, blah. If a 15-year-old boy turns up at a casino and tries to walk in, or a betting shop, is it the responsibility of the parents to stop the child going into that betting shop, or is it the owner of the betting shop? And I think that's hitting the nail straight on the head, because yes, parents bear a lot of responsibility to make sure their children are safe. They are the primary caregivers. They are their responsibility and all that. But if these companies are aware of what they're doing is harmful to kids, or can be if kids are exposed to it, they should be putting those restrictions in place, because some of the questions he asks are about, is there any age verification to play Fortnite?
Yeah. And
the Epic guys kind of just have to fluff up saying, no, there absolutely isn't. We don't do that. And they're trying to kind of like, no. Just kind of mumble it. And then one of the Epic guys, Cannon Pence, who's the general counsel at Epic Games, he puts out this comment, which I think is just so daft. It's a classic like deflection, and it's full of holes. If you're a PlayStation user all of that transaction goes through PlayStation. They own the relationship between users. So if you're playing Fortnite over PlayStation and you're buying one of the in-game microtransactions, which is like skins and stuff, right? That's PlayStation and Sony's responsibility to make sure you're age verified and you're an adult doing it. But what they've clearly forgotten about is that Epic isn't just for PlayStation game. It can be played on PC through the Epic Store.
Fortnite.
And in case you weren't aware, Epic Games owns the Epic Store and Fortnite, so they own that relationship. So the argument he's just made is completely undone by the fact that their game is available on PC on a store that they own and control.
That's it. It's a glaring omission. And even if they do put the restrictions, you've got to be 13 to play, or you've got to be 13 to gamble in our loot boxes, whatever, right? There's one thing restricting and there's another thing enforcing, and I think that's what they're not doing enough, and that's what they pressed them on in the earlier questions that I saw earlier. They're asking on, because there was this one story of this guy who was playing Fortnite, and then his nephew came and played on his account and spent £1,600 worth on microtransactions, which was 15 transactions of £80, and the question was, like, what, is there no limit to how much you can spend in a day? Like, is that there should be a limit. Like, how can that child get onto someone on their uncle's account and just like purchase after purchase after purchase like that without any restriction, no enforcement whatsoever? Yes, you've got your on your user side, you've got your adult restrictions. So if you're a kid, you can turn the mode on so the kids can't make purchases without adult supervision. Essentially, you've got that. But once it's turned off, in this case, like, surely no one in the right mind is going to pay that much money on a multiple purchases like that of microtransactions. And I can't remember what my original point was now, but I think it's having that enforcement in there. It's having a duty of care for these people who might get exploited, right? Because exploitation is not a good thing, right? And people can get exploited, and this is partly why we want this looked at and controlled better, because they are exploiting people, and people are seeing the ill effects of it, and all they're doing is counting the money, and they don't give a fuck.
Speaking of exploitation, they briefly press Epic on the workplace crunch thing about reports of people working 100-hour weeks and stuff, and they basically say, it's such a phenomenon, and we were a small team. People had to work hard, and yes, but were people forced? I don't know anything about that. If they were forced, but it's a really big game and requires a lot of work to maintain. Yes, but did you force them? Come on. And then the guy presses them again, which I think is a really, really great point as well. He's got a good way of just cutting through the bullshit and just being like, you don't think you have any duty of care there at all. You think that should be passed on, and you can absolve yourself of any responsibility. And again, that's about kids having access to these games with features for adults like gambling and stuff. And I think, again, that hits the nail on the head. You're choosing to do nothing, even though you pose a potential threat to these kids.
Yeah, it's just about being ethical in the corporate world, isn't it? It's profits over ethics, and I think that's one of the. It's such a reverberating issue in the industry, and we see it left, right, and centre. And these big corporate types, they're all about all the money, and they don't care about who they trod on to get that money. It's all about greed, corporate greed. That's it. There's no ethics when it comes to making money, because otherwise you don't make as much money, and that's the bottom line. And hopefully, we can change. We can raise the profile of it, get people to understand what their issues are with the industry, and put pressure on the corporations to try and change the culture. But don't hold your breath.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't. Another thing this guy goes on to mention is about addictive play mechanics, and he asks the the Epic guys about this, and again they kind of just deflect it. And he says they are something inbuilt into a game to induce players to play for longer hours to make in-game purchases, and those mechanics are inbuilt into the game, and that's how you monetize players. And they use some examples of encouraging frequent logins, getting users to spend more time on the device, distracting the user from everyday and real-world activities, encourage deeper involvement through sign-ups, making users feel as though they are missing out when they're not online, and to upselling the user to spend more time and money on the app. And they totally deflect this one by saying, oh, the only kind of mechanics we change after publishing a game is that we make, if a gun's too powerful, we're gonna balance it, and we're gonna make sure it's fun. It just completely ignores that entire question.
And this whole conversation with these Epic guys was, it began around the Prince Harry thing. Prince Harry recently said that the game was irresponsible and it should be banned or whatever. And that's the whole framing of this conversation with the Epic guys. Because if someone of the public stature of Prince Harry coming out and saying that a game should be banned or whatever, and it's irresponsible, then obviously maybe that this whole thing is this whole conversation happened in retaliation to that and in response to that. So it's definitely something that these addictive play mechanics is how they get people coming back, and it's part of the criticism, right? It's trying to get people addicted to your game so they spend long enough on it so that they end up spending money, and that's part of the formula for making the money. It's making the games as addictive as possible, and they've figured it out. They've figured out exactly what they need to do, and it first started in mobile gaming, your daily spins and all that sort of stuff, and they've eventually brought it over to AAA games, and that's where we are now, and that's why we're having this conversation, because they're just trying to exploit any psychological tactic that they can in order to get you back and get you spending.
Yeah. And that's the biggest problem with gambling, because a little bit of gambling's a bit of fun to people. Like the 2p machines in arcades, you put a 2p in, you'll maybe win, I don't know, 14p on a big jackpot.
Wow.
But that's a little bit. And the problem with gambling, like problem with most things, is addiction. Everything in moderation. Addiction's when it becomes a problem. And he's just outlined all of these things, which are tactics that people, game developers and publishers use to keep people playing and get them addicted to these gambling mechanics, and they're just ignoring it. They're just trying to deflect it away and pretend, it's not our responsibility, it's your parents' responsibility, because they're letting you play the game. Yeah,
and because it's not in their interest to. So there you have it. I think we touched everything.
I think we've gone through that.
We've analysed that. The whole thing is like we said, a few hours long. We didn't go through it all. We just went through some of the main bits, and but yeah, I mean, if you're interested in that, and you can actually get it on a podcast, like you can download the audio for it and listen to it. It is quite interesting. You probably can't hear them squirming as well as you can see them squirming, so it probably won't be as enjoyable.
Well, I cleaned up some of those quotes because there was a lot of okay. But again, you are putting on the spot, and it's quite difficult to talk in those interview situations. But if you had anything worth saying, you'd say it.
Yeah.
So. What's up next? This Phil Spencer Kotaku interview, right?
Let's move on now. Yeah, we've got our next segment now is regarding Phil Spencer and how he wants to break the exclusivity thing and break down barriers in the industry. And this is Xbox's strategy now going into the future, is to try and eliminate exclusivity. So this was an interview with Kotaku that Phil Spencer had during E3 this year, and it's quote heavy, but it's interesting, and it just highlights and outlines how Phil sees the industry and how he just sees it so differently, or at the very least how he explains it differently, because whether he actually believes what he's saying is another thing, because we're very cynical, and we should be very cynical about the industry. So whether he's saying it for just to get a certain outcome, we don't know, but I'll jump in. Okay, so one of the first things he said, I'm talking about exclusivity and being able to play cross-platform. The scenario that always drives me crazy is I'm a parent, you're a parent, we live in the same neighborhood, we have kids, you go into Best Buy, you happen to buy an Xbox, I go into Best Buy and I come out with a PlayStation. What's he insinuating in there? That he's buying a PlayStation for his kids. Our kids want to play Minecraft together and they can't. Well, Minecraft is Microsoft-owned game there, so why didn't he say something like Fortnite or say something, PlayStation? No, he didn't. He said Microsoft. I think overall, as a gaming industry, how does that grow gaming? And this is the telling thing. Like, how does that grow gaming? And that's his point. Like, this isn't growing gaming by being a console exclusive and having no barriers. He goes on. There's always the core that kind of comes back and says, you're reducing the need to buy an Xbox. This is addressing some of the criticisms that people have leveled at him, saying that, well, we don't need an Xbox if you're going to put all your games on the PC, and if you've got cross-platform. And this is what, like, maybe the Sony outlook is that, we'll put these platform exclusives out. We'll commission these exclusive games that people talk about and that are really highly rated, and that's what going to increase people's desire to buy the PlayStation. So his response to that is, I actually find that in reality people play on a console because they enjoy playing on a television, on the couch, with a controller in their hands, and it's an experiential thing, more than it is trying to sell an individual device. To shorten it, we focus on the player, we don't focus on the device. So that's 2 paragraphs I've read out now. He's talking about growing gaming as an industry rather than just growing as like Microsoft or Xbox. And he's also talking about focusing on the player, not focusing on the device. It's compelling hearing, right?
Yeah, it does sound good. I'm waiting for something bad to happen.
I mean, I'll carry on. Just hang on a second. The business is selling software and services. The business is not how many consoles you sell. The consoles are not where the profit in this side of the business is made, which is where, on the whole, who's selling more consoles at one time? That's a quoted. Who's selling more consoles at one time is at one time as the kind of root good of who is doing well in the business is just not true. He says it doesn't matter who's selling more consoles. He carries on.
But PlayStation sold more, just saying.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're the loser, right? You have other companies entering gaming who don't even have a console as part of the equation. It's about how many games are people playing and how much people are spending playing those games and how often they play. So it's not about selling consoles, it's about how many gamers are playing games in total and how often they play. It's growing the industry at the grassroots level, getting more people into gaming, getting more people interested in games and gaming, and then the whole industry itself grows as a result, rather than just trying to sell our little console to people and not buy your console. Another good.
It makes sense.
He's talking sense to me. I actually think gaming is a better place because of the other brands that are there. In the last 20 years, the number of games on the planet has tripled. Gaming's a $150 billion a year business, and it's growing double digits. I don't see us succeeding as necessarily requiring others not to succeed. So competition isn't key to us making money because the industry is big enough for everybody, right? Yeah. There's all this money in gaming. We don't have to be exclusive because there's so many more people and it's a growing business. We don't have to see other people fail in order to succeed.
I can hear the hammer and the sickle banging together. He's sounding like a real commie.
Well, I mean, and it's another. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, Phil. That's 4 in a row nice. Now. Come on, go for 5. I've got one more. I've got one more. I think the role that those other gaming companies play in gaming is critical. We're a big publisher on those platforms. We have great relationships with them. So instead of blocking them, so that is somehow kind of minimizes their impact on the future growth of gaming, I'd rather find ways of working with partners to help grow gaming. I think it's just better because it's not a fixed market. It's a market that's growing. There are customers all over the planet that we haven't reached that love to play video games. And talking specifically there about partnering up with Sony recently, they announced some sort of deal with streaming in future, like Microsoft working with Sony. It is interesting to hear him talk like that as the head of one of the biggest corporations in the industry. Yeah. I don't disagree with anything that he says.
It's like he's saying, yeah, we could do pretty well if the others don't do well, but we could do really well if we all teamed up and went together.
Avengers Assemble, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
it's you know what I mean?
I was waiting for a big but after all that, but it does sound good.
This is why I drew attention to this, right? Because the first first question, right? Platform exclusivity. So, obviously we touched on it. Being a platform exclusive is not growing the industry as a whole. So it might be a great short-term profit-making strategy for the likes of Sony or whatever, but it's not a long-term one in terms of growing the industry. That in itself as a philosophy is admirable. I like what he's saying there, and I'd pat him on the back, shake him by the hand for saying that, and being a spokesperson for that type of ideology in the industry is fantastic. It's definitely an unusual strategy to want to work with your competitors, because you don't see a lot of companies saying that, right? I mean, Epic might be. I mean, sometimes Epic are a bit more like industry friendly and trying to promote things in the industry. But I feel like a lot of that is just trying to offset all the bad press that they're getting.
they're friendly to the developers, but not so friendly to their consumers.
How often do you see like Sony wanting to work? Oh, look, Microsoft got this big thing going with Switch right now, right? Yeah. Okay, Ubisoft have been known to work with Nintendo in the past. I mean, it happens. But there you go. So the other takeaway from this, there's no money in console sales. We touched on it. Is that because Xbox lost this generation and didn't sell as many as Sony, and you haven't got any huge exclusives?
There's no money in console sales because your console sales were shit.
Didn't make much money. And talking about the next generation, we covered this in a video recently. Michael Pachter, the analyst from Wedbush Securities, I think he's from, he estimated that the Project Scarlet will cost $500 to produce, but will sell at around $400, which will make it a loss leader. And now a loss leader is something that sells for cheaper than it costs to make in order to make more money off the attached services in future, or the games as it is in this case. The PS3 was a famous loss leader. Apparently that cost $840 to make, and they were selling at $600, losing $241 per sale. That is a lot of money to lose in order to try and get consoles in people's houses, and that just illustrates the strategy that Sony had back in the day, trying to get those cheap Blu-ray players into people's houses so that they'd buy the Sony Blu-rays so that they'd make more money in the long term,
and hoping that because it's at a cheaper price point, more people will buy it thinking it's cheaper. Than the more people buy it altogether, that will offset things and balance it out. But it's an interesting strategy.
Yeah, interesting. And my very last question now, and this is the whole point of me having this segment in the podcast, is does Phil get enough credit for the good work he's doing at Xbox, or is he just turning on the charm to be seen as the good guy?
He's a very charming man. He's a bit of like every time I see him, I think you're like a high school jock. You were the quarterback, you know, the captain of the football team, the one who was smart, athletic, good grades, everyone loved him, but you were just nice.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, you're top of a corporation, so I inherently want to be sick when I look at you. But he does. This sounds nice.
You see, the industry has got its bad guys. It's got his villains.
Randy
Pitchford, EA, all the executives at EA, they all say bad things and bullshit things, right? You never believe a word they say, and everything that they say rings hollow. There's just no truth to it. They're saying things to suit their own ends, suit their own needs. And to have an outlook that is beneficial for the greater good rather than the selfish good is admirable in my eyes, okay? I admire that. And I think that Phil Spencer says a lot of the things that is for the greater good of gaming, not just for himself, and that's the reason why I admire him, and that's why I want to hold him up as some sort of example. Like, all right, people might not like him, whatever reason. I've from the time I've been working in the industry and hearing these things, that quotes that people say in that, I've not once heard anything that Phil Spencer has said and I thought, that is bullshit, dude. That's you're just being selfish, you're just trying to make money, you're just trying to do this, you're trying to that. I've not once ever thought that about Phil Spencer. Maybe this is my like illuminating moment where I think, well, actually he is one of the good guys.
But no, we're what do they call them? Sony ponies. We hate Microsoft. We don't.
It depends who's watching.
Sorry,
because we're Microsoft shills recently.
Yeah, right now. Yeah. I mean,
because Sony are all quiet, and we're also talking about Microsoft. Because
Microsoft put on a decent show at E3, and Sony were nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do?
That's just my personal opinion. I might be wrong.
Good.
I might have missed a lot of what all the bullshit that Phil said in the past, but I mean, I like the guy. I like what he's saying. I like the outlook he's got on the industry, and I like what he's contributing to the industry, right, for the greater good of people as a whole. Now, I mean, you could be more cynical than me, but that's just the way I see it. That's my take.
I guess we've just got to wait and see what happens when the next Xbox comes out, if that is the Xbox Scarlet or whatever the other one is, because they're going to do 2 or something. However they launch the new Microsoft gaming machine, whatever it may be, that's when we'll know if he's doing good things or the company can win, because Sony have won this generation, no argument. Microsoft won last generation. Yeah, Microsoft could win the new one. Who knows?
Well, Microsoft aren't looking to win because there's no competition now, are they?
Yeah, that's no very true.
It's like picking your ball up and going home if you're losing the football game as a kid. And it's like if you're losing, there's no game. No. There's no game. It's not competition.
We're all playing.
I wasn't really playing properly anyway.
Yeah, I was letting you in. Yeah, so they're playing football in the park. He's gonna stop playing, pick up the football, invite everyone over, and they're gonna draw on the ball. They're gonna put some flowers on it or be artsy.
Anyway, that concludes that segment for today's podcast. We're going to move on now to the Patreon questions. Now, the Patreon questions are put to us on the Discord by the Patreon members, and in order to get access to the Discord, you can follow us on patreon.com/prettygoodgaming, and for as little as $1 a month, you can get access to the Patreon Discord. You get early access to the podcast, as well as a lot of other rewards. Just go and check them out on the Patreon page. So yeah, as part of the reward, you get to ask us questions for this podcast, and these questions are coming in from our generous supporters over on patreon.com. So, shall we jump in?
Yeah, we've got a first question here from Vienticus Prime. It's quite a long one. So, how many games do you think are spying on you like Facebook and Google do? To be honest, the first time I heard of Google Stadia, I instantly thought, now all the games are going to be spying on us. But then I realized that Alphabet likes to shut down and isolate people that don't conform. So does that mean that everyone who plays games through Google that don't fall in line will be cut from gaming, whether it be multiplayer or single player? It wouldn't surprise me, especially if Google tries to muscle out the other markets using the Rockefeller scheme, which is severely undercutting competition at a loss until you obtain a monopoly. Your thoughts? Happy speculating. I think everything you use on the internet is spying on you.
Yeah, I mean, I think spying is a little strong. I think collecting information, it's the age of information, right? Information is valuable to these companies, and any information they can get on you about, your age, your name, where you live, your demographic, as well as, any information, your playtime, how long you play for, how much money you spend on games, how many games you own, what devices you own. Any of that information is very important. Your email address is one of the most valuable bits of information. That's why you go into a shop and they're like, do you want me to email you the receipt? I'm like, I've got a receipt. What the fuck? I'm
holding one.
Well, I've got this. You want to email this piece of paper that I got in my hand? Fuck off. What are you talking about? Just so you can email me some promotional material? Nah, I'm not having it.
I do think the Google being able to shut down anyone who doesn't fall in line. What are they going to do that's really going to upset them? Like, or in a game. So say you're saying something offensive. You're playing fucking Fortnite, and you're being really racist and really bigoted in general. Nothing nice is coming out of you.
You have been spying on me.
I mean, sorry. The people need to know. So Google's just going to pull the plug on you? I don't think they really care, because they're still making money off you. You're still using their service. But there is part of me that is this totalitarian, authoritarian, cyberpunk future could happen once Google takes over. It's either between Google or Disney take over the world and enslave mankind. One of those two.
Moral of the story is you can't trust corporations, and everybody's after your info. Okay, so let that be a lesson to you.
So they can't get your money, they'll get your info and use your info to get money.
Get money, exactly. Next up, Superflea asks the question, what game/franchise would love to see a new addition to if it was done right? Me, personally, Dead Space done like the first. EA still own the rights.
I think Dead Space is a good call, but that being said, I've only played Dead Space 2 all the way through. I played a little bit of 1, very tiny bit. I played Dead Space 2 and liked it a lot. Dead Space could be cool. My go-to, and I think I've said it before, is I'd love a full-scale, high-tech Red Faction where I can just batter an entire city and just level. It doesn't even need to be ultra-realistic graphics. Like, you can make it kind of stylish, but give me the ability to just wipe it out.
Yeah.
And proper good destruction physics. Oh, it's like a physics-based thing. That would be my priority in terms of like tech. And it can make it look a bit less pretty, like stylize it so you can cut corners, and then just let me level the city. That's what I want.
I think if it was done right, give me another Mass Effect, please. Just another Mass Effect. Do it right. Don't just. I mean, obviously, that could never happen because it will never be done right. But this is the question, right? If it was done right, what would I love to see? Like a new Mass Effect would be cool. It
could be cool.
Please, thank you.
Oh, I now own. I think I told you this before. I now own Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, so I can finally play them.
Yeah.
And get through them.
Do it.
So my mate was getting rid of his Xbox 360, so I was like, yeah, I'll have it. Mine's broken. And his cover of the box for Mass Effect 3 is with the female variant. So I think he got it second hand. I was like, oh, that's quite a little find. Not many people have that. So I'm like, yeah, I've got a collector's item. All right, next question from the name I always fail to pronounce, Muero Engetsu. As the channel is still called #AskGazSomething, figured I'd better get this in before it's potentially changed. How do you pronounce that? You need to say it because I physically can't do that. This is
the Welsh village on the Isle of Anglesey in Wales.
The Welsh village in Wales? Oh my God.
On the Isle of Anglesey, there's a specific nugget of information additional to the fact that it's in Wales there. Don't
all the Welsh names, which are all additional information.
What are you trying to do to me? You're trying to show me up before I show you up. Say it, Henry. Come on. This is the biggest Welsh name. You saw that weather presenter once say it, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's so cool." I've known it since I was a kid. Come on, Henry.
I certainly can't say it.
Go on, give it a go.
I mean, it's got two L's, and that's like a cl or something, like a.
Just give it a go. Stop analysing it.
Clan fair pu clig u in gogeri quhiren drob. There's 4 L's there. What the hell is 4 L's?
It's double L twice.
Cl anti Cilio Gogogok.
Wow, you got the first bit and the last bit right. Okay, you ready? It's Llanfair Pwllgwingich Gogerech Windrobwy Llantysilio Gogogok.
And what does that mean in the common tongue?
I don't know the exact translation, but it's like it's a description of a place.
It's like over the hill, under the bridge,
next to the
round the corner.
Yeah, something like that.
It's really stupid. Hold on, you read the next question. I'll find out what it actually means. Okay, where are we?
Just put meaning, right?
Translate. That's not how you spell translate. Let's put an A in it. Okay, come on.
Where's the English translation? It was at the top.
Oh, here we go. We're loading. Where are we? Here somewhere. The Church of St. Mary in the hollow of white hazel trees near Rapid Whirlpool by St. Tosilio?
Yeah.
Tosilio of the Red Cave.
There you go.
So it's just a geographical description.
It's quite obvious all along.
I mean, of course.
There you go. So let's move on to number 4. Venticus Prime asks, on the opposite end of the spectrum from my question last week, have you ever spent a lot of time in a game doing something that not only didn't contribute to the gameplay, but also was either just mindless or tedious, or just took an ungodly amount of time, all for the sake of shits and giggles? For example, what I'm talking about, I think my crowning achievement in the aspect of wasting time for nothing was farming to get 99 duplicators in Castlevania SOTN because reasons.
There's been a fair few. One that springs to the front of my mind is playing Red Dead Redemption 1 online with one of my mates from school. There's a place in it called Plainview. It's like a very rudimentary like oil mine with the donkey head things, and there's these big wooden towers. You can climb them, and literally all we do was kill each other at the top of them in stupid ways. And it wasn't even that interesting. It was like get the throwing knife out and do a close quarters kill and just go fall down, or just the push, because it's such like your arms turn into boards and they're just and then you fall down. Or like in GTA finding a fast car, driving as fast and as hard as I can at a wall to see if I would die when I flew out the windscreen and splattered.
Yeah. There's so many times where I don't spend an ungodly amount of time, but yeah, there's so many little things that you do just to, sack the main mission, just go off and just smash some cars into walls and shit.
Any open world game with New York City, I'll climb to the top of the Empire State Building, spend ages with awkward controls trying to get to stand on the top of it, and then jump off.
I've got a good one, right? In Days Gone, when they stop playing the music, I go under the bandstand thing, and just dance, and just stand there like doing the crouch and doing a little. I swear, I've got footage of it. I've recorded it all. Every single time I heard music, just so I can listen to music. So I do like my guitar music, but yeah, I just do weird dances every single time. Yeah,
basically
just do a crouch.
I do a little spin.
Yeah, just do a crouch and go left and right, up and down. So fun.
Okay, all right. Well,
each to their own. Don't be judging me.
Yeah, we've all done it.
Don't be judging me.
Like, anytime there's a dog in a game where I can't pet it, I'll walk up to it and just like pretend I can pet it because it's adorable. All right, another one from Vienticus Prime here. At Gaz, have you picked up this War of Mine board game yet? If so, in lofty hopes of future plays or a practical thing to do with the missus.
No, I haven't picked it up yet. Simply because my 2 young daughters probably wouldn't appreciate that. Now, what I did happen to see was recently they've announced a Cities Skylines board game, which I'm probably going to get. I think it's coming out in September or something, right? And you cooperatively with everyone else around who's playing build a city. I don't know how it's going to work out, but that is definitely a game I'd play, and it'd be cool to play with the kids because it's not a gritty war game where you've got to try and survive by all means like this War of Mine is, which my 8-year-old daughter probably wouldn't just appreciate in the right way. All right, so is it my turn to read the question and I get the big one? Okay.
Yeah, bad luck.
Cloney99. I've discussed a lot with my best friend in ages past what the pros and cons of a console are. We boiled it down to this. A console must be finalized before it's shipped, so it will always and ever have hardware of a lower quality than a top-notch gaming PC and is not upgradable. So that's a con, right? Consoles need special peripherals that aren't useful in any other context. Are we talking Kinect and stuff like that?
Yeah. When it comes to like a Kinect, you don't need it unless you're playing a game specifically for Kinect, and they're all shit.
Yeah, and the Wii like peripherals that they had that weight. Was that like?
The Wii Fit board.
Yeah. Oh, God, what the fuck was that? Anyway, but so there's the cons. But consoles have the overt value of plug and play. So you set them up, insert your game card, and start playing. And then he goes on. I've just summarized this next paragraph. So the day one patch, always on anti-piracy and required subscription for online content, ruined that plug and play pro. Now that said, we basically agree that consoles are always the worst alternative to PC gaming. With the upcoming invention and release of Google Stadia and other streaming services around at A3, do you think the next generation of consoles will be the last?
No, I don't think the next one will, because I think there will always be people who want consoles for convenience, even though I totally agree the day one patch thing has totally buggered
convenience.
The convenience of it, because I remember you go to your mate's house, you'll bring your controller and a game disc with your memory card in it, because it had its own little memory card slot in the box. You'd plug your controller in, you'd put the game in, and you'd just play. No need to install, no need to update, and you just off.
Yeah.
But now the advantages with installing means we can have bigger games with more detail and more stuff, so that goes both ways.
I mean, the streaming services have got their advantages, which is, you're eliminating the day one patch, but you're not eliminating input lag, right?
You don't own it.
There's no way you don't own your games. There's pros and cons to every platform, right? And given the choice, people will always have their preferences. And preference for having hardware underneath your telly will always be one. And we touched, Phil Spencer touched on it earlier. People like having that experience of being playing that thing. And input lag's bad enough when you're using a telly that has like a low response rate, and you're playing a console versus playing on a PC with a monitor which has got a high refresh rate. You can sense that input lag, right? So not only do you get that lag, but it's horses for courses, but it will never be eliminated. The desire for having hardware in your home will never be eliminated. So therefore, I don't think it's like having people say, digital is going to take over physical, and you'll never get physical copies ever again. Physical copies are going to die. No, they're not.
No.
Like, you can still buy CDs, right?
Yeah, retail stores might disappear.
You still buy vinyl records, for God's sake. You still buy vinyl records. Why would they ever do away with hardware that you can play on?
The vinyl thing's such a pet peeve of mine. I love the sound of vinyl. It sounds amazing, but it's such a fad that people buy it and don't listen to it. And it's completely off. But the one that really triggers me to hell is when they like blue tack it to a wall, not the cover, the actual black vinyl disc where you can't see anything apart from the small circle that's like that big which says the album title. What the hell are you doing? Well, put up the album sleeve because they look really pretty. They've got nice art on them.
If you're in a recording studio and you want to show off all the people
if you've got platinum records, fair enough, but that's a platinum record which they don't even play when they might.
Okay.
But they're a trophy more than anything.
And let's move on to the second part of this question.
Yeah.
What pros or cons for consoles did my best friend and I miss?
Well, the obvious one is console exclusives, but there's a question of how long they're really going to last for anyway, with the whole Phil Spencer not being about that.
Yeah.
Fighting the good fight.
Not about all that.
But there's definitely a pro there.
Sorry, if you've got some more, carry on.
No, I'm just kind of thinking aloud.
It's just like a multifaceted part of the question, and it was a big one, so I'll carry on. Is the Switch an exception because it's a handheld and a stationary home entertainment system? And the last part, why is the PC the best way to experience games in your eyes? Well, the PC is the best way to experience games. Well, it's a pros and cons. If you've got the money for it, then it's the best because you get the highest hardware, the games run faster, a higher resolution, and you get the best experience. And you can also choose whether to do mouse and keyboard or
just more options.
Yeah, it gives you ultimate versatility if you've got the budget for it. Is the Switch an exception because it's handheld and stationary home entertainment system? Is it an exception for the pros and cons?
Yeah, the Switch is kind of its own thing because
very niche.
I've gone back to my Switch recently, just being able to play it on the sofa like my girlfriend watching Love Island, and like, fuck, am I actually watching that shit? So I'm there taking the piss like, this is crap. What a realistic conversation between two people wearing full makeup under box lights. Real. While I'm playing Zelda, I'm having a great time just being able to kick back.
There you go. Thanks for your question, Cloney. We did our best with that's a big one. So hopefully you got some satisfaction from our response there. Let's move on.
Okay, from Metal Shark. When Microsoft said Xbox One accessories will be compatible with Project Scarlet, do you think they meant the Kinect 2.0 too, using the overpriced USB adapter released with the Xbox One S? Disclaimer, I am one of the few who actually plays dancing games despite the stigma.
So what Metal Shark's asking is, can I still play my dancing games on the Xbox Scarlet, please? No, he didn't say that. He didn't say that, but although he should be saying that. No, it's up to you if you want to dance, dude. That's fine. Will you have it when Project Scarlet comes along with your Kinect? Will the Project Scarlet support the Kinect 2.0? Please let them please support it because I want to be dancing in my front room. So
get a Wii, because the new Just Dance is again. It's on the Wii. They're still publishing for the Wii.
I would say yes.
Yeah, probably.
I would say yes. They should support it. And if they don't, then you've always got your Xbox One, right?
Yeah, I mean,
just use that.
See, games like the dancing games or like a Guitar Hero game, I think would work really well as a free-to-play format. Do it with like maybe 10 songs or 10 dance routines or whatever, completely free, and they can be a couple good ones, a couple shit ones, and then monetize it by saying, "I'll pay like $1.99 to get Back in Black by AC/DC on Guitar Hero," or some pop song which I'm unfamiliar with on Just Dance. I think that'd really work.
So moving on to the next question. Now, this question is from Sabu, and this is a question around Days Gone. If you're playing Days Gone now and you don't want to be spoiled, we are about to go into spoiler territory for Days Gone. So warning right now, if you are listening to this and you are playing Days Gone, you don't want to be spoiled for the game, skip this question and miss it, because we're going to spoil it for you, because this is big spoiler territory, big spoilers, alarm, alert, don't listen. This is a spoiler, okay?
You have been warned.
You have been warned. What? Okay, the question is, what's your thoughts on Days Gone story? I know you liked the game. I did too overall. But the story itself got pretty bad on the third act, ruining most of the character progression I had liked so much until that point. Do you feel the same? By the third act, I mean everything after the mountain pass scene. I said exactly the same to you in the office, right? We're talking about the bit where you find Sarah, right?
So Sarah's your wife who is dead,
but right, you spend half of the game probably pining after this girl, right? You go to the shrine multiple times to talk to your dead wife, okay? The whole 2 years that's gone since you lost her, you've been trying to get her back, trying to find her, and when there's hope of trying to find her, when this guy comes in his helicopter and he's like, yeah, I can find out what happened to her, and then your hopes are dashed again, and it's like, it's a tragic love story, right? The whole thing. That guy is a genuine stand-up guy, and all he wants is to find his missus and get back to where he was in this relationship with his missus, and everything been rosy, right? He eventually finds her, and then they have the shortest, most awkward conversation, and she pretty much blanks him. His own wife blanks him. I would have fucking slapped him, man. I'd have been like, what? Well, not literally, obviously, but I'd have been a bit miffed. I'd have been like, what? I've
verbally slapped her.
Verbally and metaphorically, right? Yeah, that's totally ground me up, right? Like ground my gears. You say like that expression. It was such a bad scene. I was just like left thinking, what the fuck just happened? Because for one, right, he denies that he's even married to her.
Yeah, they try and hide it because you're not allowed to in this little military camp.
In this little military camp that she's in, she's not allowed to fraternize, but he's fucking married to her. He's married to her before this shit went down. So that shouldn't be I think that's just a convenient plot device, right? I think that's just convenient for them to have to be separated for that time.
Yeah, my problem with it is
I didn't like that at all. Let me down, man.
Yeah, anytime something happens in like a story or any piece of fiction that I don't like, I'm always like, okay, well, I've got to wait until I finished it because it might come back around. So when I met her, I was like, this is weird. There's like anti-chemistry here, like it's just wrong. So I was like, okay, maybe there's going to be a plot point where she's moved on and she's actually like found someone else.
That would have made more sense.
Yeah, because there's a character in it who's wearing one of your rings, and it's the ring that you gave to her. So I was like, oh, has she given it to him because they're canoodling or whatever?
Yeah.
No, turns out he just had the ring so that he could give it to you later on, and he was allowed it because he was. It's
such an anticlimax, right? The whole game, you're going through these flashback scenes where you're reliving the moments special moments you had with her, getting married to her and getting to know her and courting her and all that. Such an old word, but
yeah, it works.
You know what I mean, right? So you get to the point where you're finally reunited with her, and in front of somebody else, she blanks you and doesn't even acknowledge your existence, pretty much. And then the conversation is, well, I've got work to do now. I've got to
go fetch these items for me.
Yeah, and I've got a greater cause now. We're trying to fight a war here, and it's like, yeah, go and get these items. That really put me off the game for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
After that scene, I played that scene, ended my play session and didn't go back to the game for like 2 or 3 weeks. I had to force myself to go back. It put me off so badly. Luckily I did, because I ended up enjoying the game as a whole. But holy hell, yeah, you're absolutely right. It was really, really shit. It was so bad. It was
that
bad.
Specific moment really got me. But the rest of I really like that, like going to the new area.
Yeah,
I liked exploring it. I really liked the stuff with like you go to the college and there's just like a bazillion zombies there. You hang out with a scientist who makes you a new weapon. He makes you napalm molotovs, which are almost game breaking. They're so powerful. You can clear a horde with those, and it's so good.
Yeah.
And then eventually you go back north, and that gets interesting. But it's just that bit.
Yeah,
in the first few minutes of being,
I don't know what the writer Sam Garvin was. Sam Garvin, wasn't it?
John Garvin.
Yeah. I don't know what he was thinking. It just, maybe he had a different idea for it, but it just wasn't executed well in the way that the game played. It just didn't. It just felt bad. And yeah, there's a criticism of the game, which is overall very, very good and very enjoyable to play, and the gameplay,
really good game,
overshadows that by many. In many multiples, like it's just one bad scene, and the rest of it was almost pretty damn amazing, right? Let's be honest. So I mean, yeah, totally with you there, Mr. Sabu. It doesn't make the game a bad game. It just makes it a bad scene.
It's a bad scene in a great game.
Yeah. There you go. Those are our thoughts. I can stop ranting now, but yeah, I was looking forward to answering that one.
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, next up from Josue. I'm really struggling with this one.
Okay,
Josuevo. 47. Can I read that right? Bloody hell. Several years back, I heard that the revenue a channel makes off advertisements on YouTube is decreased if the viewer skips an ad. Is this true? I fucking abhor the vast majority of the obnoxious ads being circulated on YouTube, but I'd be willing to endure them if I knew that it significantly helps the content creator. Thanks in advance.
Nah, I mean, it's minimal. Let's be honest here, right? We get views per impression, views per click-through, revenue per impression, revenue per click-through. And I think if you watch the whole... I wouldn't let anybody try and influence you to... If it's... I can imagine one YouTuber... In my head, it's a YouTuber saying, oh, you've got to watch all my advertisements because otherwise I won't make as much money. Don't let him deceive you. And skip the bloody ads, for God's sake. Who's going to sit through... I mean, I appreciate your commitment, but the fact that you're here asking questions means you've donated on Patreon, which is more than like 100 or 1,000 times money that would make on you watching through every single ad that you ever get served on our videos. So we appreciate the sentiment, dude, but by God, skip those fucking annoying ads.
God, they suck.
but yeah, it's just how it is. Just like just ads are shit. They're just there just to keep us alive. But don't watch them. Not for our sakes. You've done enough already. Cheers. Okay, so the very last question again from Metal Shark. We've had to. This is Metal Shark's second question, so we've had to trim a few off. So apologies, Metal Shark. If you want one answer specifically, ask it again for next week. When we reach the point that there are 100 notable Battle Royale games on the market, can we pit them against each other and go back to there just being one notable Battle Royale game on the market? Now, I was thinking this about...
One Battle Royale to rule them all type thing.
I was thinking this about the greedy corporations, right? Can't we just have a Battle Royale of, because Phil Spencer's all about peace and love and harmony, hugging trees and stuff and getting everyone together. Can't we just have one Battle Royale to kill off all the rest of them? And a contender has entered the arena like CD Projekt Red just wipes the fucking floor with all these companies, ends up owning all the assets. And then just the industry is
CDPR Star Wars IP.
What would it be?
That'd be so good. Yeah, I'd love to watch all these Battle Royale games manifest and kill each other, and hopefully they'd all die. They'd go out like they were in Hunger Games, where you're meant to eat the poison berries as a protest. Just kill each other.
How would you pit them against one another? It's like have the guy from PUBG versus a Fortnite dude. So the Fortnite dude could build stuff, but PUBG guy's got better weapons.
Guns, yeah. An Apex person, they've all got extra hero abilities, don't they?
How would that go down?
I don't know. Well, then there's what's the magic one? With wizards and shit. It's a newish one, came out a little while ago, because they're all, it's like medieval with spells and stuff. They just win if you got to keep all of your powers, because you just do a magic spell on them. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, we're in favour of that, Metal Shock. That is for sure, as well as battle royaling all the big corporations.
I think that's how we should solve most of the world's problems. Just stick them in a room and
everyone in the cage.
Whoever wins.
Awesome. And next up, everybody, we are going to be taking reading the YouTube comments. Now, I have built up this segment for the worst comment of the week, and I will find it.
I forgot about that. Have you remembered the name of the bit?
Yeah, I'm just about to find it. If you could just
all right, let's see if I can
Phil for 1 second,
find one
you can find
the
find
meantime.
a comment, and it'll be fun, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Okay. I did have some that I've seen. I just can't seem to find them again. Where are you? Oh, come on.
Okay, I found it, right? And this comment qualifies as the inaugural. That means first, right?
Yeah.
This is our inaugural triggered fanboy comment of the week.
I think I might have read something along this. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll let you.
Okay. So the winner of the triggered fanboy comment of the week comes in from Matthew Pito, and he commented on our news roundup on Tuesday about the Fallout 76 finally delivering the canvas bags. Now, he says this. Ready for it. Jesus fuck! You need to get off F76's dick. We get it. You don't like it. You just sound like angry, pouty children. And what do you sound like, dude? Anyway, carrying on. And comparing them to Fallout 76... Anthem to Fallout 76 or No Man's Sky show how stupid you guys are. There are constant updates and changes to 76 and No Man's Sky. Anthem's feed hasn't been active for months. They've deleted the roadmap for the future plans, while Fallout 76 has a weekly blog. I'm not even finished.
I haven't read this one. This is
it
good.
Also came out before Anthem and still has much more players and has a very dedicated fan base. I'm not a Bethesda fanboy. Yeah, right. I'm talking as someone who played the game. There were a lot of issues with the game at the start. 90% of those are non-existent. It's just cool to shit on 76 and get your clicks because people are angry that a different type of game than they are used to was bad. Oldest gamer I see on YouTube and the biggest crybaby. How fucking triggered must you be to take the time to write all that bullshit? My God. I categorize these types of comments in the category of boo-hoo, I like this game, fuck you comment, because that's essentially what it is. And you'll see a lot of them, like people who get triggered by one thing bad that we say about the game that they like, so much so that they write, man, yeah, you're fucking talking shit, and try and discredit us because they don't like our opinions.
I mean, yeah.
Congratulations, Mr. What was his name again? Mr. Andrew Pito. You win the Triggered Fanboy Comment of the Week.
Oh, man.
We should do that every week.
Absolutely. There was one or two comments on yesterday's video. Well, the Borderlands... Randy Pitchford, that's his stupid name, lying, that really tickled me, but I can't seem to find them. This might be one, but because it just didn't make any sense. But if you've got any more, that'd be
I've got another one. We're talking about the no dismemberment for Jedi Fallen Order. Mads Andreasen says no dismemberment, pass. I mean that's a very low barrier for.
If your quality line is whether or not you can chop people up, it's a bit odd.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's your choice. But,
yeah, exactly. I mean, like we said in the video, it's going to make a bit of a difference to how enjoyable the game is to play. So if you can't really chop people's hands off, are you really going to veto the game and not buy the game because you can't chop people's hands? I'm guessing you weren't going to buy the game in the first place, right?
Yep.
That's probably it.
Right, so I found the comments I was looking for, and I feel I've probably said this before, and it really winds me up when people do it when you're texting. Just send it as one message. He's got four. Just put it together. Just don't click enter. Right, anyway. From Sid Galore, and I think these are in the correct order. They might not be, but I hope they are. Step it up now, chop chop. Not you, PG. Other dumb people who think who think they're shit, they just haven't been whipped yet, so they're still walking around with their underwear up their ass. Haha, it's funny. Every day you talk shit, you got underwear up your ass because you know things. Ha 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 ha. All the humour gone, no 666, no nothing, just hearing that crack, ha ha ha. And everything falls behind, baby, let's go, ha ha ha. I have no idea what any of that means. No idea. Wow. Like, when I first... Oh, wait, oh, bloody hell, there's another one. Here we go. The very first one, which is the longest. All right. Your game is... You're trash. Well, okay, for starters, it's you are. I mean, apostrophe R-E, thank you. You're trash. The game is great. It takes work and stress wanting players to be happy all the time. You don't credit yourself, which as in a wicked witch, which means you a young little one, but it's okay. You have the need to talk shit words on paper, yada yada. Try and understand things you don't yet understand. There are a lot of people, different lives, different views. You will stay stupid if you keep shit like this up. I mean, you're gonna fucking buy the game, right? So why you blabbing your mouth? Am I right?
Why are you blabbing your mouth, Henry?
And I said that very stuntedly because there's not a single bit of punctuation there. Oh, sorry, there's 2 question marks there and then another one right at the end. Other than that, it's just a word vomit.
Who's blabbing whose mouth?
I sense that Sid Galore might be between the ages of 13 and 14, to be honest.
Months.
Yeah.
Right, next comment on the Fallout 76 video. Raven Knight says, Fallout 76 would have been better off coming with a bin bag.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Quite accurate.
Yeah.
You got another one? Craig Keeley says here, starts new Plague Inc. game. Plague game, pretty good gaming. Pretty good gaming has infected the world. I'm down with that.
That's fair. It's one on our video about why don't game developers show gameplay anymore following E3. And this is from Wojtek Vez Rezin? I don't know. CDPR actually answered the question in a letter they posted online, and they're not afraid to admit it. And I feel like there's nothing strictly wrong with this comment, but I feel like I see these things all the time, which is people trying to correct us on things we've already said, just not in this one video, because we made an entire dedicated video about how CDPR are great because they're transparent and honest. Like, yeah, we didn't show gameplay, and we're not going to until this time, and we're doing it because of this. And I feel like this guy's kind of trying to correct us.
Well, all this is people coming to the video based on the thumbnail, right? Which is essentially they've been clickbaited, right? They've come.
Gotcha.
It's part of YouTube, right? They come to the reason we put Cyberpunk in the thumbnail is because you ignorant fuckers will click it, right? So you'll click it and then you'll come and complain that what we're talking about doesn't relate to Cyberpunk. But, okay, there's a loose association because they didn't show off gameplay, but we weren't talking about Cyberpunk in the video. We're talking about other games not showing gameplay because we've already addressed the fact that Cyberpunk didn't bring gameplay because they're going to bring gameplay. We already did the whole video, like Henry said. Now, these people have been duped, essentially, to watch our video. But the most important thing, right, is not... They come here and they comment based on the information that they've got off the thumbnail and the title. However... They're blaming us. They're telling us we're stupid because we don't understand the situation with CD Projekt Red. But they haven't taken the time to watch the video and educate themselves on what we're actually saying. So therefore, based on their false assumption about what they think that we said, they're accusing of us. I mean, it's very complicated, but the bottom line of it is you're stupid, not we stupid. Right, hope you got that.
So I got one comment here, and then there's a bit of a thread of varying levels of abuse about it, and it was on our Last of Us video about Ashley Johnson maybe leaking, maybe trolling release date thing from V8 Flat Top Gamer. Tempting. However, I think I will take a pass on the Bull Dyke Simulator, and I feel like this is the kind of person who gets really upset about pushing agendas in video games and stuff. And I think The Last of Us is such an interesting case for it because...
The Bull Dyke Simulator, all right.
And she's not really a bull anyway when it comes to that sort of thing. But so people get upset because of agendas being pushed and shoved down your throat. But Ellie was gay in the first one. She was written to be gay all along. And then as soon as they showed her kissing a girl in the trailer for Last of Us 2, people went bananas. I don't remember anyone really caring in Last of Us 1. There's
one thing people actually pushing some sort of political agenda, like, what, you know, that's one thing. But circumstantial, like just calling out everything as pushing a political agenda is another thing, right?
If you're calling out one thing for calling out an agenda like this, you'll have to call out everything.
Exactly.
Because if you're arguing it's pushing an agenda to include a gay character, surely every game that doesn't include a gay character is also pushing an agenda of pushing straight.
No, exactly.
Things.
Yeah. And it's like walking past a gay person in the street and saying, "Stop pushing your gay agenda at me." It's like,
you can do it, but I don't want to see it.
The guy has nothing to do with you.
Like,
I don't want to see that in public. Why do you have to be gay in public? It's that type of mentality. It's like, come on, dude. People. There's going to be a certain amount of people in the world who are homosexual. That doesn't mean they're pushing their agenda because they're in front of you. Just like a game isn't pushing an agenda just because this one just so happens to include a gay character in it. Yeah. It's not pushing an agenda if that's what was meant all along. And I mean, I don't know. People get triggered by this type of gender politics so quickly and easily. Too much so, and there maybe is a case sometimes for people pushing an agenda, but not every case is them pushing an agenda. It's just not feasible. Like, it's not always the case.
If you're not going to buy The Last of Us 2 because you don't like the idea of a gay character or whatever, that's your business, and that sounds like a problem for you, not for the game. The game's problem isn't that it has a gay character, because it doesn't actually matter. I like the way they've done it, because they've been just like, yeah, she's kissing a girl, so what? They don't care.
Yeah.
They're not being like, oh, you need to embrace everyone for who they are and be nice and soft. That whole thing, it's a little thing called juxtaposition in that trailer. It's when you put two scenes together deliberately for a particular reason. So they put a very nice scene of them in the tent, and there's lights, and it's all very pretty, and there's romantic. Cut with her savagely ripping a guy's throat out with a knife, right?
Yeah.
That's what that means, and it's
the whole point of it, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people get angry about such little things. If you don't like it, don't buy it. If you don't like our videos and don't like our opinions, don't watch it. You don't have to be angry and paint yourself as some sort of idiot in the comments. Like, you could just spare yourself from for looking like an idiot just by moving on and finding a better channel on YouTube that more suits your tastes and stuff. Just stop being a fucking idiot. Just don't play the game that you don't like. Don't watch the video you don't like.
I mean, there you go.
Anyway, on a lighter note, the Borderlands 3 contract proves Randy Pitchford diverted funds to personal company video. There was a comment here which says, Tyler Davis says, "Hey, 90s bowling shirts are not cheap."
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to pay for that wardrobe somehow, hasn't he?
Yeah, his shirts, there's something. It takes a certain kind of man to pull that off, and I wish he would just pull it off. Just get rid of it. Come on. I just had one, but I think I have just skipped past it. Let me just quickly try and find it again. Where are you? Where have you gone? Okay. This is on the Jedi Fallen Order story about lack of dismemberment and Sekiro-style combat / the Fallout one about the bags. Mark Gamble, the bags for putting your head in shame if you were stupid enough to buy the Fallout 76 jacket and wear it out in public. That was the real leather plastic blue Vault jacket. And then it goes on a bit more, but it's not as interesting.
Okay, my final comment of this week is from Undead Hunter, the dude who comments on every single bloody video. And I see you, and I see all the videos, and thanks for that, dude. I really want to just congratulate you and thank you for that. And his comment on the Randy Pitchford video was, Randy stories are the best enjoyment of the day. You are welcome, most welcome, sir. You deserve it more than anybody else, and thanks for all the comments that you leave on all our other videos. And if only more people were like you, we might be up there with like the Young Yays of the world having all these views and comments. But there we go, we can't all be awesome like you, Mr. Undead Hunter. And I think that's it. I think it's a good...
I've got one here that I did quite like, because
I reached the crescendo, and we were going to...
Yeah, but it's quite funny. Last week's podcast, the big E3 special from T Hawkis 52, Nice shit, love the video. Oh, thanks. On Sunday, you can play some Battlefield and listen. I'm like, but it's Battlefield, isn't it? Like,
You're not judging him on his taste of the
Could
game.
you not play something better than Battle?
All these things we're talking about, acceptance.
Battle. No, it's fine. It just made me laugh because I wasn't expecting to see Battlefield there. But I hope you're having fun.
You know, you can play shit games all you like so long as you're having fun.
Exactly.
We're not here to judge. We are not here to judge. And that's it for today's podcast. Thanks very much, everybody, for watching and sticking through it with us. Sounds like it was a bit of a bad time. Thanks for sticking through it.
It was all long. It was all industry bullshit. But
half of it was. Sometimes that's the best.
Yeah.
But for those of you who do want to support the channel, like what we do, and like what we bring to YouTube, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. You can get early access to this podcast next week. 2 full days early access by donating or pledging as little as $1 per month, because it really does help out the channel. It really, really does. Without the Patreon support, we would be nowhere. We wouldn't be on this. You wouldn't be watching us. You wouldn't be listening to us. We wouldn't be anywhere. We'd be on the dole. Would be working at Subway. I'd be working in my factory. You'd be working back at Subway. If it wasn't for you generous donators over on Patreon. So thank you to everybody for that. And on that note, from Henry and I, we will see or hear or hear you again next week at the same time. Until then, bye for now.